So at the moment we have just over 400 members and trialists across both sites.
Today's podcast, we have the Jarrett brothers, Tom and Sam. They are the owners of Brigade Fitness. We talk about their backgrounds of an elite sniper and a golf pro and how they got into the fitness industry in the first place.
I always wanted to be a sniper. That was like one of my goals to do.
Got to a pretty high level. We started to compete. So I decided to turn professional.
What's your record in front-end sales in 1 month?
One of the months in there, we hit around 50.
What is their onboarding process to make sure that clients come in the door and are wowed from their first experience?
We get people to come to an intro session. We'll do like a small presentation, our 6-week challenge, kind of what we're about, what we expect from there.
This is the perfect episode if you've successfully grown and scaled location number 1 and you're thinking of opening location number 2. Let's jump into the episode. Tom, Sam, Jarrett brothers, welcome to the Fitness Marketing Agency podcast. Thank you for coming down. Let's just tell everyone who's either watching on YouTube or listening on some other platforms, what is the business name, the model, the location, everything like that.
So thank you for having us. We are Brigade. We are based down in Kent. We have 2 locations. We opened up our second one last year. We run an 8-to-1 model.
Roughly how many members across both sites?
So at the moment we have just over 400 members and trialists across both sites, and seem to be growing quite well every month, which is nice.
And then the price point?
So at the moment we run a 6-week challenge, which is 247, and then we have 2 different membership options. One is 3 sessions a week, that is at 147, and then we have an all access, which gives members 5 days a week access, and that's 179.
Cool. We'll dig more into the product and the setup and everything in a second. What are your roles in the business?
You want to go first?
Yeah, so I am head coach of one of the new gyms, Kings Hill, and ultimately look after most of the sales throughout the business as well.
And then I've kind of moved into sort of a general manager position. I've taken on more responsibility with the marketing, and really just sort of driving the business forward, coming up with ideas, making sure we're hitting certain numbers and giving the teams different goals.
How far apart are these locations?
They're about 30 minutes on a good day, yeah.
And the demographic very similar, or
it's quite similar.
Yeah.
Marden is a little bit more sort of rural, and I would say maybe a little bit older than Kings Hill.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly with the
Kings
new
Hill's
people speaking
closer to Maidstone, so we've seen a slightly younger demographic, but not worlds apart.
You mentioned head coach position.
Yep.
Do you have a head coach at location number 1 as well, or you overseeing the whole brand?
Yeah, we've got someone that's kind of coming up and filling your boots within that head coach role, isn't he? At
Yeah,
Marden?
so Glenn was my first employee. He's, how old is he, 24, 25?
26, I think, yeah.
Okay, so so he's kind of taken on a assistant head coach role at the moment. I'm kind of trying to mentor him into that position, which has been really cool.
Let's delve into this head coach position and the actual programming and the product, because so many gyms come to us and they think marketing will fix every element of their business and therefore their life. But a big percentage of gyms that we see, simply put, what they deliver on the gym floor is not good enough, and that's based off of data of how much they retain their customers that come through the door.
Yeah.
So you said 8-to-1 model. Is it exactly the same 8-to-1 model in both gyms?
Yeah, the product, the 8-to-1 model is the same. We did tailor the programming for Kings Hill when we first opened, because obviously we don't know the fitness abilities and levels of the new people we're getting through, so we did tailor it right back. Essentially, it was the same program, just tailored back. The way, I think we're talking about, like, when the gyms say that their product and programming isn't up to scratch, I think it's a bit more than just the programming. I think it involves the whole experience of how the member feels when they walk in, how they feel when they walk out. So I wouldn't necessarily say the product is all down to the programming. I think it's bigger than that. So we try and focus. I mean, our programming is we have one person that focuses on that, but there's a lot more around sort of the client experience, making sure we're saying hello to people, like smile, all the basic stuff really.
So I've not been to your facility yet, and maybe before this gets released, I'll pop down and we'll get some video footage, or you'll give us some that we can overlay and put on YouTube. So I've seen videos of your facility. It does look very, very slick. Just square foot wise, are they very similar, both locations? Or
Kings Hill's slightly bigger. I think Marden is 2,000 square foot approximately, and then Kings Hill's about 2.5, so it's slightly bigger.
And
Sorry, yeah, they're set up very differently as well. I think HQ, our Marden gym, was kind of set up through COVID as well. I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit later, but Kings Hill, we've really opened the space with kind of the rigs on the outsides of the room, just giving us a lot more room.
is that based off of your learnings from location?
Yeah.
A lot more space to move around as a coach and
Yeah,
deliver
just
the
as
product.
how our product and how our brand is evolving, we've found that having more space allows us to do things like workshops, events, bigger team training, just gives you the option to do a little bit more.
Do you have any members that hybrid between both locations?
No, we haven't, although we've had people ask about it, we haven't put that in place yet. And that's purely down to the fact of just managing capacity between the two gyms. It wouldn't be a problem for Kings Hill at the moment because there's still plenty of space there. But over at Marden, I think if people were jumping in between, it would be quite hard for us to really manage that capacity and make sure people can book on.
When someone walks through that door for the first time in either of the locations, can you just talk us through visually what they see, the interactions with the staff? Is there an assessment, and then them partaking in their first session and then leaving the door?
Yeah, sure. So we get people to come to an intro session. So we sell on the phone, then they book onto an intro session. We do 2 or 1 a week, depending on what location you go to. They'll turn up, be greeted by one of the coaches. There'll always be 2 coaches there for the intro. There's generally only 4 people on that intro, so it's a 2-to-1 on a 2-to-1 basis. We make sure that we introduce everyone. They're sat in front of the coach. We'll do like a small presentation on our 6-week challenge, kind of what we're about, what we expect from them,
And
what
at this
they can
point,
expect from
they've
us.
already paid.
Yeah, they've already paid for this point.
Yeah.
Once we've been through that, they'll then go on to some body composition measurements using the InBody if they want to. We'll talk through their results, and then we kind of move into a small intro session which we use as like an intro to some of the equipment, and also we use it to see what their fitness level's like, see how they move, and make sure that if there are any injuries or anything to look out to, that gets communicated back to the team in that following week. We make sure that they've booked on their first 3 sessions for the first week at least. And that's pretty much it. We get them to download our apps, make sure they know how to use them. So when they come to Monday, they're kind of firing all cylinders and they know where to go. They know how to use the kit. They know already some of the coaches.
We'll delve more into sales, Sam, which is what you cover in a bit.
Yeah.
But the key thing for me there is people are paying before they're entering and going through this assessment, induction, starter session with you. And more and more of the industry are switching to that model where if we go back 5-10 years, it was more like, hey, come in for all of this free stuff and then we'll take your debit card and sign you up. But then there'd always be that little lag or drop off where people, they're tempted, they know they need to do it, but something stops them and prevents them from moving forward. So with what you guys are doing, what many of the industry have switched to is, you're getting people to pay over the phone, you're processing it, and then you're getting them to turn up. And then, they've paid money, so they're going to pay more attention. They're more committed to the cause. And, they become, a loyal, raving fan of you guys.
Absolutely.
Let's just talk through the logistics a little bit more. So you mentioned InBody, right?
Yeah.
So you put everyone on that just to get an overall score of where they're at?
Yeah, just to kind of lay some foundations, see where they're at. That way we can easily kind of talk about their goals and where they want to be. That we actually put some numbers to it instead of them just saying, I want to lose weight. We can actually get some sort of actual numbers on it. And then it just gives us something to then retest if it's 3 weeks or at the end of their 6-week challenge. And it also helps for us to convert them into a full-time member as well. If they see good results, which they will, if they follow if they do what we say, like the likelihood is they're going to look at that sheet and be like, oh, wow, it actually does work. So that obviously helps conversion rates as well.
You mentioned the app. Sam, just talk us through, is it white labeled? Is it custom? And then did they get any videos, they explained how to book on? Because again, what we see a big downfall is, a lot of people that work in the fitness industry, we are tech savvy. We're used to using apps and booking on to certain sessions at other gyms potentially. But a consumer comes through the door and they're not tech savvy, and then there's a breakdown in comms. They don't book on for the session, and then they struggle with that first task, which is to book sessions. Yeah. And then they think, well, I can't even do that. Okay, this isn't for me. And then they stop or they don't commit fully. So just talk us through that.
Yeah, so it's something we're still trying to evolve and I guess get better at, because we do still have 2 apps that we use to do that. We use Team Up for the actual just booking sessions, and then we've got our custom kind of Brigade app that we work through Trainerize. So ultimately our goal would be to have our own app and to be able to make sure everything's kind of in-house down the line. But that intro session gives the coaches and the ability to show them and talk them through and actually get them booked onto their first 3 sessions within that Team Up app. And then the Trainerize app is where we're going to set their goals. So what we talk about, their nutrition, where the in-body scores will go. And that's ultimately where our kind of one-to-one, more tailored coaching can happen throughout the 6 weeks.
Great. So there's no Facebook groups. It's all done in...
Yeah, we have Facebook groups.
You do guys have Facebook
We
groups?
do,
yeah.
yeah.
Good. Just for community element.
Yeah,
Exactly,
more for
yeah.
community, more for engagement, announcements, things like that.
Yep. So I book on. I've been embodied. I've been talked about nutrition, shown how to book sessions. I'm booked on for 3 sessions. So now I've paid £200 plus for the 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Just talk me through that process, and then how you're getting people to convert into longer standing memberships.
I guess what we didn't cover there is that whole intro session quickly is quite anxious and nervous to join a gym as well. So it gives them before walking into a full session, it gives them the ability to kind of meet with people that are doing the same thing. And
I think it's a good. So I'm glad you brought that back up, because again, so many people just throw Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith into a session with 20 people, and they don't even know how to squat, and they're not sure of the ins and outs of how it works, and then the coach can't even speak to that said client. Because there's a next session and it's commotion and chaos, right? So
it's a really good thing that we get happen. And then I guess once they start the 6 weeks, that's when the coaching happens, right? They start their sessions, a few different sessions. We have our small group and we do some kind of capacity. So the first week is just getting them comfortable within the gym, really. Not much else happens in regards to personal coaching within the app with nutrition and stuff. Once they are comfortable through that first week, and again, booking in, we start to dive into their nutrition a little bit. So we'll book like a one-on-one call with them, or they'll come into the gym and meet with their personal coach, and we'll start to set some nutrition goals, I guess. Pretty flexible we are with that approach. We don't try and overcomplicate it. It's generally a calorie goal. We try and talk a bit about protein as well, and ultimately just try and build and educate their knowledge on nutrition rather than overwhelm it from the beginning. And then over those weeks, we just try and help them build good habits, right, around their fitness, and more around coaching what they're doing already, and trying to change that into better habits throughout the weeks.
Do they get given any merchandise, or do they buy merchandise? Are you recommending supplements, anything like that?
Yeah, so they don't get given merchandise. We do our own merchandise, and it's something we've definitely discussed, isn't it? Like a welcome box of some sort, but we haven't got that in place yet. In regards to supplements, we don't have our own supplements. We do a bit of work with Optimum Nutrition, but it's not something that we kind of recommend straight from the start. Nutrition approach is quite kind of flexible with whole foods and stuff, and if they need to supplement, we can, but not something we push really from the outset.
Is there any one-on-one phone calls outside of the gym with these people in that 6 week, front end trial?
Yeah, so like Sam said, we can set up like a one-on-one goal setting review.
Yeah.
Which you can do through Trainerize, or the team will book in with them in their coaching sort of time. And again, it's just an opportunity for them to speak a little bit more detail on what they're currently doing, and how we can just like make a few little changes, nothing drastic, just a few little changes to make hitting their goals or whatever we give them a little bit easier. I think a big one from my experience doing it as well is when we're giving people calorie goals and talking about protein, it's more to get them to kind of start looking at what they're eating and start looking at the back of the packets to understand and give them a little bit more knowledge on their own sort of nutritional like habits and what they like to eat. That's why I don't think we would ever sort of give anyone out meal plans, because the likelihood that they're going to stick to them is they might do it for a week, but after that it's not going to be what they like to eat. So it's more of like, what are you doing now? How we can make like little tweaks to make it better. I think that seems to work the best with general pop.
And then when does the conversation occur about, hey, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, you've done this in this short time period, you've got these results. Do you want to become a full-time member?
Yeah. Generally, we have automated emails between like weeks probably at the end of week 4 into week 5, they'll start getting some automated emails to book in for another measurement session, to start giving them more information about what comes next, what the membership options are, what the pricing is, even the sign-up pages if they want to get started sooner. So generally what we find as well, that some people get so much benefit through the first 4 or 5 weeks that they've already signed up before they come to the end of their 6-week challenge, which is good for us, obviously. When they get to the end of their 6 weeks, we use like a tracking system, so they'll come up as a new conversion lead, and it will be the coach's responsibility, whoever's assigned to that member, to give them a ring, send them a message, get something set up, whether it's a phone call or a meeting in the gym, and then they'll talk through the membership options face to face or on the phone and sign them up that way.
And in terms of the cancellation period, the contract length, how does that work once I've gone through the 6 weeks and then I decide, yeah, this is for me, I'm going to commit?
Yeah, so we've kind of tried out different things since we started. At the moment, we have a 3-month commitment, so that's kind of a commitment to us and a commitment back, obviously. We have a 60-day cancellation policy, which is new from this year, and that's it, really. Yeah, so 6
weeks, then a 3-month commitment, and then 60 days
60
cancellation.
days. Yeah,
perfect. I really like that model because, again, consumers way too often are let off the hook.
Yeah,
I just want to stop now, immediately.
Yeah, we've only just changed it. It used to be a 28-day cancellation policy, and what we found over the years is that as soon as any like obstacle comes up in their life, whether it's a long holiday or a job change or anything that is just a small obstacle in terms of like short period of time, they panic and they're like, right, I need to get rid of this. It's only 28 days. That's easy. I can just do it. So hopefully bringing in that 60-day cancellation policy will really make them think about it. And obviously we want to support them, whatever their decision is, to help them try and get over that obstacle.
But it's also fair for you guys as well. You're managing all of these clients, and from a P&L standpoint, cash flow standpoint, you've committed to them. They need to commit to you, and training should be something they do 365 days a year. Not actually doing the training every day, but it should now be installed in them. So for them just to want to just quit immediately just doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, when we talk to people when we're making sales calls, like we try to get that across to them. Like, this isn't just like a 6-week challenge. This is like, we're trying to change your life, your lifestyle, your habits there's a reason why you've clicked the ad or rung us. So we will help you do that, but we need to see a little bit back as well.
Talk me through a typical session on the gym floor. So I'm either in that 6-week period, or I'm now a full-time member. Yep. What does the warm-up, the mobility, is there strength, is there cardio? What's the end session? How long is a session?
So sessions are around 45 minutes of work. We've got like an hour layover, or kind of the sessions are hour blocks. We've got that 15-minute gap to do a bit of mobility at the end, or ultimately as well for the guys to speak to the coaches if they've got any issues around training or nutrition. It gives us a good time to connect within that rather than just kind of in and out. A couple of different sessions. Our kind of bread and butter, I guess, is small group training, where we'll warm up, we'll work through a strength block where there'll be some progression. And then we have kind of 2 different bits of programming at the end, where one's more kind of cardio aerobic based. We call it burn, so it's kind of designed to burn fat, I guess. And then we do something more kind of strength focused for another group, which is more kind of bodybuilding, muscle focus. And then Wednesday is kind of what we call commando capacity, which is our kind of 45-minute aerobic session, so less structure. A bit more high intensity, motivation, loud music going on, which generally we see is pretty popular, don't we? And then on Saturday we do something more for the community, so it might be more team based, a little bit more kind of down the compete road.
Any of your clients wearing Trackables that you recommend, or are they just randomly wearing anything they think is good for them?
We have MyZone installed in the gym. We see a lot of people use it. It's good for us to see them working hard in the gym, but also for them, like, data to look back on, setting goals. If you're one of those types of people that loves looking back at like data and seeing how well you did and where you could improve, it's really good. In
terms of the team members, we've not touched on that yet, so let's go deeper into this. Yep. How many is there across both sites?
So we currently have 12 employees. From the start of February, we'll have 12.
And they're full-time employees pay
Yep.
PAYE.
Yep.
So just talk me through why you've gone down that model and not the typical other model, which is either a contractor, consultant who comes in and does some sessions, or hey, you can have the gym, free access to PT and build your own business and do whatever you want. Why have you gone down this model of full-time employment?
I think at the end of the day, we're trying to build like a business, a brand, and we want people to come in with us. We want that full buy-in, and we will support them. I think that in the fitness industry, in the PT industry, you don't really get, unless you join a team like ours or a business like ours, it's very rare that you get that whole sort of like team culture, which I think is really important in a work environment, especially if you've got like a sports background, or which generally people have if they go into fitness. When you go out on your own and you start working, you don't have that sort of that team aspect, people pushing you, the fun sort of work culture. I think it's very hard to keep yourself motivated and disciplined. So that's what we're trying to build at Brigade. It's all in. It's one in, all in. Good working environment, good team culture. We try and train together most days, and just there to like push each other as well.
What would you say to the gym owner that has the opposite model? Bunch of contractors, freelancers, just covering sessions. Maybe they ad hoc training their own clients within inside that gym. Why should they switch to the employment model that you've got?
Making the switch is difficult, but once you do it, you'll never look back. If you can find the right people, one, it makes your life a lot easier. There's more trust. There's more buy-in. It's just a generally better setup. There's a lot less stress, I believe, doing it. So yeah, I would always recommend, if you're in a position to do so, do it.
Talk me through the interview process. How many stages, questions? Is there practical?
Yeah.
Do you want me to do this one?
Yeah. Far away.
So our interview process, I'll speak to them on the phone to start with.
I missed the crucial part. Where does this job advert go out first?
So generally on social media, Instagram, Facebook, or emails. If I've got an email list of potential coaches, we'll have people apply. We get them to. I've recently got them to send in like a video, which I think's really good. Again, you get that kind of buy-in of people that really want to be there, rather than look at the CV, because generally everyone's CV is pretty much the same.
My
right?
CV's been distributed 50 times.
So if I can get if I can watch them like talk more about themselves, you get a better idea of them, where they want to be, what their kind of intentions are. If I like them from there, we'll set up like a Zoom call or a phone call, whatever works for them. And then once they get past that stage, we'll invite them down to the gym for like an assessment day. A few hours, we'll get them to join in a session with the members, and we'll get them. The idea behind that is just to see how like they interact. Are they saying hello, introducing themselves? Are they having a good time? What's their kind of personality like? Are they coachable? I think that's really important. So they'll do that. We'll let them have a little bit of a break, and then we will get them to coach part of the next session. So they've already taken part in it, so they kind of know. We've sent them the program card already, so if they've had any questions about certain exercises, they can get back to us. But we'll get them to coach to see what they're like in a group of people, because coaching 1 to 8 is pretty tough. See what their actual their coaching is like. See what how they motivate people. After that, we try to do like a little sales task, which straight after their coaching. So we'll get them face to face. We're in a nice quiet area of the gym, and we'll just say, this is kind of like pushed onto them of, well, they don't know this is happening, and we'll say, give them a scenario of when the member comes to the end of their 6-week challenge, it will be your job to kind of convert them. So we're just going to do like a little role play here. I'm going to be the member, you're going to be the coach. And I'm not generally looking for like the perfect answer. I'm just looking for something good back. So we'll just say, hey Ben, I've really enjoyed my 6-week challenge. I've seen loads of progress. It's been great. But I'm just a little bit worried about the price. And then leave it there and see what they come back with. And again, it's not looking for the perfect answer, but at least give me something.
Yeah.
After that, we'll go into more of like a formal interview where we'll ask like interview questions, see how they get on, a bit of pressure. And that's pretty much it. After that, if they're good enough, we offer them the job.
The 12 employees you got at the moment, they're all coaches, or is there anyone behind the scenes doing other jobs?
So we've got a few behind the scenes people. My wife, Sally, has started working more for the business. So she works 2 days, sometimes 3 days a week, more on like the finance side. She's got a commercial background, good on spreadsheets, good with money, and she's very intelligent. So that kind of helps. Then we have Kane, who is our video and content creator. He's full-time as well. So he works on any of our ads, any of our social media, filming all sorts.
What's your Instagram handle? Because you do pump out some really good content.
Yeah, it's got a lot better. Brigade.fitness. So yeah, go on there, give us a follow.
He's changed the game with that, hasn't he?
I think so. Yeah, I think social media, like it or hate it, it's huge now, right? Everyone kind of views their life through Instagram. So to have a presence on there that is professionally done, I think stands you out from the crowd. And I think the way the industry is going, a lot more people will be doing that.
So is he driving between both sites, or did he do one day at one site, one day at the
So
other?
he works at HQ, in the office at HQ, but he'll go maybe once a week to get some filming done down there.
Yeah. And I skipped over your wife and her role in the business, so let's go back because that's crucial, right?
Yeah.
So is she coming to you with financial spreadsheet? Is she connecting with your accountant?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Yeah, so she does the bookkeeping, she communicates with the accountant, she does all the forecasting, all the P&Ls that we'll go through. Anything like heavily spreadsheet focused, she'll do. She also does all the invoicing, speaks to the suppliers, is in our leadership meeting every week. So her role in the business as we've grown, has become quite important, especially with like forecasting and setting realistic targets and goals that we need to hit.
She reins us in as well.
Yeah.
On spending or just in life?
Everything.
Yeah, I hear. Well, we see it all the time. Like people just spending the money they don't have, and investing, which is all good because sometimes you need to take that risk as a business owner, entrepreneur. But sometimes you got to check that bank account, and there's no one there to sort of if you're trying to coach the sessions, you're trying to do the marketing, do the sales, you're trying to help the staff. You're trying to then do the P&L and communicate with the accountant. You're trying to juggle all these balls in the air. It just doesn't work. So you got Sally, you got Kane. Anyone else?
We've got a coach at the moment called Lindsay. So Lindsay's quite a cool story. She's got a PhD in psychology, focused around sort of like team and leadership. She was one of like my very first members when we opened up the actual gym. She was a member for a while. Then we had some conversations about her doing her PT qualifications and actually coaching. And now she's a full-time coach at Brigade. But she's moving over. As we've opened up the second site, we're trying to service over 400 people now. Like the admin side of it has gone up. So at the moment, like myself, the head coach is Lindsay, who's doing a bit of admin. We're all trying to do the same sort of things, which works to a certain level and then it doesn't. So now we're making this transition where she's moving into more of an operations role, looking after the customer journey a little bit more, doing a lot more of the admin. So the head coaches can focus on more of like the product and their team and their gym performance, and kind of take their mind away from emails and everything like that. So that's where we are with that.
Let's switch to sales. Sam, so you're in control of sales across both sites?
Yep.
Talk us through what a typical day would look for you. Are you consistently on the phones? Are you making sales every day? Like, tell us more.
So we've recently gone to kind of a sales team, which is just me and another coach. We've just kind of found that most of the coaches, we had all of the coaches making sales, kind of diluted it. Obviously not everyone likes making sales. It was kind of pushed to the bottom of their list a lot of the time. So we took it, myself and Luke, who's a coach at Kings Hill with me. So we get to spend every day, all day with each other. I would say that the tracking process that we've got from a new lead coming into whenever we do speak to them, if it's 7, 8, 9, 10 calls later, is pretty good. So we can keep on top of 40, 50 leads within that system quite easily. So yeah, I mean, at the moment, certainly through the last 2 months, my full focus has been on driving sales and bringing money into the business.
How quickly are you calling these leads when they come in?
If I haven't called them in 5 minutes, we've probably made a mistake. If I can't call them, let's just say I don't know, if I'm on another call or something like that, we do try and get a contact out within 5 minutes. although we can still speak to them after that, we do find there's a big drop off if we don't speak to them within those 5 minutes.
What about weekends?
We sell on weekends.
Even if you're off, like
Playing
playing golf.
I mean, I guess that's the thing, isn't it? If I'm playing golf or something like that, then I may miss that. But with it being, I guess our business, I'm pretty happy to pick up the phone when they're there. I mean, we found on the weekends that it's quite hot to make sales within those 2 days, so it's important.
Yep, willing to do the work necessary to drive the business.
Absolutely.
Talk us through the actual conversations that you're having. How are you leading someone through for them to then make an ethical buying decision to join you versus either do nothing at all or go to a competitor?
Yeah, good one. I mean, when I came into the business two years ago, I thought I was good at sales, but now how I do it is very, very different.
Why is that? Because you had jobs or
throughout the golf industry. I didn't just play. I was also involved in a golf club where I was in a retail shop and built connections with people. So fancied myself at sales, and kind of obviously as soon as I came in, started doing them with Tom. But all we spoke about was what we did, our new gym, our shiny ergs. It was very much about us rather than them, which has completely changed. Again, down to a bit of Luke from FMA. We've spent a lot of time with him, and just through experience, I guess. So I guess once we pick up the phone, that the first 10 to 15 minutes, if it needs to be that long, is about finding out about the client, the prospect, finding out what their problems are, because everyone who's reached out to us has a problem. It doesn't matter who they are, but it's just trying to find out what that is. And then it sounds, I guess, a bit mean, but trying to pinpoint that as well and make them almost realise that the problem is there. We then try and take them to a goal or an end goal where they can see kind of if they were to join us, what it would look like. And then, I mean, ultimately through that 10 to 15 minutes, all we're doing is trying to ask questions, really. If I'm speaking 20% of the time, it's probably quite a good thing, and just trying to get them to kind of open up and realise themselves on the call. Do you find
it's easier selling to men versus women, or the other way around, or is it quite equal?
I would say selling to women's a bit easier. I would say you just kind of, you don't have that kind of ego part of I can do it myself. They seem to want to be coached a little bit more, that's for sure. So yeah, I would say women's probably an easier sell.
I'm not asked you this across both gyms. What is the split male female?
That's a good question. It's probably like 60-40.
Yeah, maybe a bit more
to women.
To women, yeah.
How many of these leads are coming preconditioned either as a referral or they've been Googling you, looking at your Instagram, versus like completely cold?
Through December, it was pretty high through the referrals and website and stuff, wasn't it? I mean, obviously now we've hit from the 15th of Jan, we've been pushing out paid ads. So majority of them have come through our paid ads. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly a mix. I think obviously having paid ads on also drives the other side of it with the referrals and people going to our website that have seen the ad or have got it in the back of their mind.
Do you see a difference in the mentality of someone like a paid ad versus a referral when you're selling to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot harder to get through the boundaries of a paid ad. I mean, we always used to call them bad leads, but again, I'm just trying to change that language because no one's a bad lead, I guess. If you've got their contact details and like I said earlier, they've got a problem, you should be able to sell to them. But it certainly is easier and probably a quicker process to sell someone who already knows the brand and is friends of someone or seen it a few times.
They're just not as educated as a referral.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll come in through our system. We won't hear from them, and then all of a sudden, like a year later, they'll be back round again, and I'll be like, Sam, this person, the date added to our system was like last year, but they're back in because they've obviously been following us. They've been looking at our social media. They've been looking at what we're doing out in the community, and they're like, right, now's the time. I'm ready.
We'll switch into this now, but I do want to come back to sales. What are you doing every single week and month to nurture these non-converted leads? Like, is Kane directly posting on your socials, or does he just film and edit? And then what's the frequency of that? And then are you sending emails to your list? What other things are you doing to nurture those people? Yeah,
so all of that really. So I kind of do the email marketing. So I'll send out at least one email a week. We do like a newsletter which goes out to our members. So on there they've got like referral links. We'll do a monthly, we call it the monthly mission debrief, but that will go out monthly, which is like a monthly newsletter to everyone. Then we've obviously got the paid ads, we've got social media. So at the moment what we're finding is We used to do like a post Monday to Friday, but we've cut that back now, and we're trying to make them have a little bit more impact, so doing less. So we're doing 3 a week, but we're focusing more heavily on the stories. So we're getting the coaches to do like takeovers every day, Monday to Saturday, and then like tasking them with like at least 6 to 8 stories a day, where they can try and get more people engaging. I think it's like social media now, instead of like posts, I think using the stories, it makes everything a lot more personal, a lot more relatable, especially if the coach is doing like a takeover. You get to see like an insight into their life, into their work life, how they train, what they eat. So it makes it very personable. So I think that's quite key. Apart from that, we do leaflets which go out to all the local businesses. We've done a lot for charities over the last 3 years, like local charities, whether it's a food drive, whether it is raising money, doing some kind of crazy fitness event, whatever it is, we do a lot of that. Apart from that, we just try and get out in front of people as much as possible, go down the coffee shop, making sure we're wearing our Brigade coach stuff, talk to people. Just be like people.
and starting conversations, connecting, and find out what people's problems are, then providing a solution. We'll come back to marketing. Let's switch back to sales. So what are the most common objections that people are telling you on the phone to why they can't start with Brigade, and then how are you overcoming those?
So time, price are probably the main two. We also used to get to the point where we got objections, but I'm trying to overcome that within the call now as well. So asking the right questions, are finding out that they have got time, and almost finding out that they have got enough funds
so
to
they
start.
say, this sounds good, but I can't commit to 3 sessions a week.
Yeah, I don't have time to do that, which is an objection we get probably more than the price at the moment.
Do you think that's a smoke screen, or is that legit?
It's a smoke screen, isn't it? Yeah, it's a smoke screen. So the trouble is, once you've got to that point, then you've obviously got to try and rebuild the trust. So hopefully that whoever's making the call has kind of hit the obstacles before it comes to that, and it's an easy exchange of money and 6-week challenge at the end.
And then are you outright getting people saying they can't afford was it 200 and
247 is a 6-week
they're saying
challenge.
they can't afford it?
Yeah.
At the end of the call.
Yeah, and again, I used to take that as I used to try and really dive and go into that quite a lot. And with the right people, maybe you can, but there are some people out there that you speak to, certainly that come through the paid ads that just simply can't afford it at that time. But they might come down back later in the line. So I've got a little better about kind of just being okay with that fact, and not everyone's going to sign up with us.
Because sometimes if you try and squeeze someone into something, they become the worst type of client.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How often are you reaching back out to these people that, for whatever reason, give you an objection to not proceed forwards? Are these dead leads, or are you going back and recircling, checking in with them?
I mean, they do go into a list where they're not on the tracker as such. If they are not ready to sign up, or they've given us an objection and we haven't taken the money, they'll then go onto lists which is Tom then can start marketing to throughout the different months.
What's your record in front end sales in 1 month?
It was probably, this month's not far off. We're at 45 already. Before we opened Kings Hill, we obviously had the Momentum gym launch program that we did with you guys. The goal was to open with 100 front-end sales before we opened the doors, and we got 101. So we were pretty happy with that. But I think one of the months in there, we hit around 50 as well.
Yeah. So that was 101 for location number 2, right?
Yeah.
Before the doors opened.
Yeah.
So just to give context, everyone either watching or listening to this, so what we did was we ran paid ads for people to download a brochure PDF that explained you're opening the gym, and they need to pre-register to secure one of the spots because you can't service everyone. And then obviously people submit their details, you call them, and then you close them into becoming a founding member. Yeah. Congratulations. Let's talk about that site 1 versus site 2, because there's a lot of gym owners here that have a successful site number 1, and they make that decision, do I go to site 2 or not? So what was the driving factor? Looking back, was it the right thing to do? Did you have your ducks all lined up in a row? Talk us through your mentality of making that decision.
That's a good question. I think, being honest, I wouldn't have been in a position to open site number 2 without Sam. Like, I fully trust Sam to run that. I don't need many touch points. So if I didn't have Sam, that would have been, I don't think we'd have been ready, and that would have been way harder. So that's probably point number 1. We definitely, since day one, we've always had like good systems and processes in place. So we could have done it operationally wise, but having someone to manage it and take on the responsibility, I don't think I couldn't have taken myself fully away from HQ to have done that. So Sam's been absolutely key in doing that.
But you were involved in Site 1 at the time, and then you just split Site 2.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
How did you finance it? Because from the outside looking in, the gym looks perfect. You might want to upgrade a few bits here and there, or maybe do some changes of the layout and building work. But from my perspective, it looks great.
Yeah.
So how did you do it financially?
So we were quite lucky in the space. There was dilapidations money. So the landlord gave us some money basically to help with the fit out. Obviously, we have to pay that back when we leave, but we've got a long lease, so that's fine. So we had that. And then we've had like family investment as well to get it to where we want to get it. So that's that. I mean, you've seen the gym. It's stuff like that. It's not cheap.
Talk us through that negotiation with the landlord. So what was in there previous?
So it was an office, a big office space. It's 2,500 square foot. It looked like an old office, like low suspended ceilings. Very outdated, like terrible, like blue, horrible carpets.
I'm sure we can get some before pictures from you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it had been vacant for like 2 or 3 years. So when we approached the landlord at Kings Hill, they're a huge business. We gave them the idea, and I think because it has been vacant for so long, and because of the situation with the world, like people aren't really after like more. There's not many companies looking for more office space. So I think they found it really hard to find that. So when we gave them this idea, they were kind of all in, and they wanted to help us because it's a big space at the end of the day. So trying to fit that out without having any like sort of investment is very tough.
Did you find this property on a commercial website for property, or did you just know the local area?
So I'm always looking. I'm always on Rightmove or talking to estate agents, whether it's for like houses or offices or gym locations. So an estate agent actually rang me. It was about another property in that area. So I spoke to him about it. It didn't really work, and then I asked him a few more questions. He was like, "Oh, funny enough, we've got this other one that isn't. It's on the market, but it's been there for like 2-3 years, so we don't really push it out." So I was like, "Okay, I'll go and take a look," and it just went from there, really.
Did you get change of use with the council?
Yeah, again, this was like something that we walked into that we didn't know about. So as it was an office block, I kind of went into it being, this is under the new flexible class use. So we thought we wouldn't have to get any planning, but I've got a planning consultant, so I had them to look into it. And when the property was built, 'cause it's not that old, there was a constraint on it that it could only ever be an office. So then we had to go and get full planning, which was another headache, obviously. But
how long did that take?
It took a while because we're first floor in there. We had to do things like noise and vibration tests. What else did we have to do?
What's below you?
So below us are 2 estate agents for the Kings Hill area. We've got quite a good relationship with them, and things work quite well. So
you passed the sound and vibration test?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, which again, that was hard work. Never done anything like that before. We had to have a special floor put down, which again was very expensive. We had to have loads of tests done. We had to really work with the estate agents downstairs because obviously we've got to get people to go in there to measure it. So yeah, it was a really big obstacle. It was really tough, stressful, but we managed to get there in the end.
Talk me through both of your mindsets, because if business was easy, everyone would do it. I'm sure you've come across many challenges and obstacles from what you just described to probably even bigger and worse things. What is your sort of routine? What's your mindset like? How have you been able to persevere regardless of the challenges?
Yeah, for me, I'll start. Mine, I think from my military background, I'm very sort of I've got a lot of self-discipline, daily habits, and I'm very motivated. So for me, I see an obstacle and I just know that I'm going to get to the end of it and it will finish at some point, no matter how hard it is. So that's my kind of mindset is, yes, it's not very good or nice whilst it's happening, but there is always going to be an end if you keep chipping away at it. So that's kind of my mindset to life, fitness, business. Just keep going, and the end is in sight, kind of thing.
So
I'm a little bit different, although we're brothers. We're a bit like chalk and cheese with that. I guess Tom is very meticulous with tracking numbers, spreadsheets. We know where we are on a daily basis. It allows me to kind of be a bit more fluid and be a bit more customer facing within the sales and within the gym. So it allows me to be a bit more flexible. I guess he's my older brother, so he keeps me accountable on a daily basis. So there's always someone to, I guess, look up to and make sure that we're doing the right things on a daily basis.
what is the biggest challenge that you've overcome in the business, either with what you just explained with the planning, or is it a team member, an issue with a client, something external that you didn't really have control over?
I think the main things that come to mind, I mean, there's a few. We set the gym up, the first one, October 2020. So obviously we started during COVID. We opened the gym up for a couple of weeks, had to shut in that first lockdown. So that was like the big first one. I think the other ones for me.
So how long were you open for?
2 weeks.
And then you had to close?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you get any grants or loans? Was it too early in the process?
I think it was too early back then. So, I mean, what we did was because we were running boot camps before that, we had like 30 or 40 recurring members anyway, plus whatever we got in that first 2 weeks. So we basically just gave everyone our equipment, so take it home, and we delivered the same. Obviously, it wasn't as good because we weren't in the gym, but we tried to deliver the same product just at home on Zoom with equipment, and it worked pretty well for us, to be fair. And we even made sort of sales and brought on new members that we'd never even met before. So that was okay. I mean, we worked our way through it like many businesses did. The second biggest obstacle is probably the second location. Like going from my experience, going from 1 to 2 is tough, really tough. Yeah. Just more out of like cash flow and having that money behind you to do it.
Is that because it's draining location 1?
Yeah.
You're robbing Peter to pay Paul?
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So over the last sort of 6 months, HQ has like helped fund Kings Hill to get it to a place where it is. I mean, now it's okay. It's kind of washing its own face, and we're getting into the profitable areas. But yeah, that 6 months is when you're paying off contractors. You've got salaries to pay, rent rates. Like, it's tough, really tough.
Will you go location 3?
So our like overall vision is to have 5 or 10 in the next 5 to 10 years in Kent and the southeast. I think there's going to be a bit of time now between opening up site number 3. I'd really like to get 1 and 2 like absolutely rocking before we step to 3, because I think maybe we pushed it too quick between 1 and 2 probably. So I'd like to get the 2 rocking and rolling, and then look for site number 3 and make sure that location is really perfect. And I feel like now we've got a little bit of time and space to do that.
Nice. Let's switch back to marketing. So had you done paid ads before coming on board with FMA? What was your perception of it, and then how has it impacted the business?
Yeah, so I had done paid ads. It's something I didn't start with, but I did. One of my mentors showed me how and helped me. So we did them for a start, and they worked really well. So this was back in like 2021. I think it's changed a lot now. So we were filming ads on our phones, and we were doing that. I kind of had to teach myself how to use the ads manager, how to set them up, and we probably got them a little bit wrong sometimes, but definitely learnt through the 2-3 years of doing it how to set it up, what works, what doesn't, and then working with you guys has just elevated that even more. So yeah, we were doing that before, and then we made the move over to you guys. It wasn't that long ago, really, was it? 6-7 months?
Yeah, probably.
And like I said, it's just elevated even more. Like, I'm learning every day, speaking to Olivia. She's showing me the ropes on what we should be like tracking performance-wise, what's working, what isn't working, how to create really good content. We've just made some user-generated stuff from your recommendations, which has been really cool to do with our members, and it's like obviously quite different from what everyone else is doing.
You just touched upon mentorship.
Yeah.
I know that you've heavily invested. Can you just talk about the impact that your most recent mentors have had on you?
Yeah, so from day zero, really, I've had some kind of mentorship around the gym space. I think it's been key for us because I've never, from my background, Sam's background, we've never worked in a gym, never did any like PTing, anything like that. We went from zero to Brigade. So having that kind of mentor there, one, as confidence, two, a bit of accountability, and three, from learning from other people's mistakes, I think has been key for us to grow as quickly as we have. So yeah, since day zero, I've invested quite a lot of money into gym ownership. We're currently with the Gym Owners Network with Jens and Ollie. We've been there for just under a year, I think, or maybe just over. Again, that's kind of elevated my leadership experience. I think it's elevated our product. You're in a room full of inspiring people, keeping you massively accountable. So that, I think that's definitely helped.
Yeah, far too many gym owners sometimes think they can just put that cape on, Superman cape, and just I can do everything because I'm a PT, I'm a gym owner.
Yeah,
they don't look outside of their four walls of their gym to get additional help. And then what we see happens is like gyms just leapfrog them in terms of membership, brand, revenue numbers, profit numbers, because they've stayed like and not asked for help.
Yeah,
and
there's so much to like owning a gym. It's more than that. It's a business, isn't it? And if you want it to thrive, if you want it to grow, you need to be working on other areas that isn't just the gym. So like learning about business, because like when you go into PTing or fitness, you do it because you like fitness and you like helping people. You don't necessarily know much about business or marketing or sales or anything like that. And to have a good business that thrives and grows, you need all of them things in place.
What does a typical day look like for you, Sam? And then we'll come back to you, Tom.
So my job role at the moment, actually, as we spoke about earlier, is sales, but I'll be at the Kings Hill gym pretty much 5-6 days a week. I do still like to coach a little bit, so whether that be 1 or 2 sessions a day. I think it's important to keep the tool sharp, but ultimately my job is to develop my team, make sure our gym is performing well, and the growth of the Kings Hill and the business is always progressing.
Tom?
So I find myself over at HQ most of the time. I do come over to Kings Hill once or twice a week. My days pretty much consist of getting to HQ, looking at tracking marketing, looking at numbers, coming up with new ideas for the team, holding meetings. I try to make a point of trying to work on the business and not in it, at least an hour a day or a couple of hours a week. Obviously the mentorships, I'll be on a Zoom call or I'll be out to a boardroom. Obviously training is a big thing for me, so I'll train pretty much every day for at least an hour and a half.
You doing the same, Sam? Or?
Yeah, it's a big thing for us. I mean, we've got a small team over at Kings Hill, so there's just myself and 2 coaches at the moment, which will be growing soon, but we do make a thing of at 10:30 we train together, and that's a daily thing. Yeah.
Same in location 1?
Yeah, it's been a bit harder in location 1 because the team is a bit bigger, so not everyone can train every day with each other. But the coaches pretty much train every day. We make a point on a Monday, we have like a team coaches meeting. After that, we'll all train together. On a Friday, we do a bit of like internal team development. Again, we'll all train together after that. So I think it's a big thing for team culture and bonding, and that isn't to do with work, although you're still in the gym and it is kind of work, but it's fun.
How often are you getting together as a whole company with both gyms to do a meeting or to do a social?
Yeah, we do every quarter at least. If we do some kind of internal development that we think everyone needs to be together, we'll do that either at HQ or Kings Hill. But yeah, every quarter we'll sit down, we'll review the previous quarter, we'll set some goals for the next, and then we'll generally go out for dinner or we'll go bowling or some sort of social event afterwards.
You've talked about this development, so is that you guys teaching, or is it one of the coaches teaching everyone else?
Yeah, it really depends on what the subject is. This year we've put like a real framework and curriculum in place for our internal stuff, so it's kind of mapped out for at least this quarter. And it really depends on what's getting delivered. So it could be on coach. If it's on something to do with coaching, generally the head coach takes it. We've just input like this Brigade leadership framework. So Lindsay kind of takes the reins with that with her background. Customer service, the head coach will take that. Sometimes I'll do one. We do case studies as well. So we'll task the coaches with doing a in-depth case study on one of their members, and their job during one of the team developments will be to kind of present to the rest of the team what their findings were, how they helped the member, and then lay it all out in like a presentation.
The branding that you've created and the name for the gym, I have a good idea where that came from. Let's touch upon that in a second. I think it's connected to your backstory. Let's go with your backstory first, Tom, and then Sam, and then let's talk about the brand that you've created.
So I grew up in Maidstone. I went to Maidstone Grammar School, which is an all-boys school. Played a lot of rugby.
I played rugby against Maidstone.
Did you?
Yeah.
Played a lot of rugby. I was a school captain.
What position?
A 7.
Looks like a prop, doesn't it?
I should have been. Should have been hooker. But no, I played 7. I wanted to look after my face. Loved rugby, loved fitness, anything to do with the gym. Absolutely loved it. Didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left school. I knew that I didn't want to go to uni. I wanted to kind of work and earn money. So I started an apprenticeship as a quantity surveyor with a big construction company. All my friends went to uni. I lasted about 6 months, sat in an office. I was like, what am I doing here? Hated it. So I left. And at the same time, I watched a program called Commando on the Front Line by a guy called Chris Terrell. And I just I fell in love with it basically. And I was just like, right, that's what I want to do. So I applied when I was 19, joined when I was 19, went through the 32 weeks of training, passed. Then went to my commando unit up in Arbroath, which is Scotland. Went on operations in Afghanistan. Was there up in Arbroath for, I think, just over 3 years. Then moved back down south. I always wanted to be a sniper. That was like one of my goals to do. So I applied. They let me on the course. I managed to pass, which was tough. And then I was based down at 40 Commando in Taunton. And I was there for another couple of years and then left. I left to do like private security, which is kind of the thing that everyone does. It's good money. It seems to be glamorous. So I did that. So I was looking after celebrities, high net worths for a couple of years. I got bored of that quite quickly. And then I went into more sort of like business intelligence stuff, which was a little bit more exciting. And then COVID happened. So I was self-employed. All my work kind of dried up overnight. I was like, God, what do I do now? I'd always wanted to open my own gym. I'd been in the gym since I was like 12, 13. Very naive around like what that actually involves. So I said to my wife, actually, Sally, during our wedding, I was like, right, this is what I'm going to do. So COVID was kind of like the push to do it. So we moved out of London at that time into Marden, where we are now. And I started running like outdoor boot camps when we were allowed out with groups of 6. And it just went really well. There was nothing like that in the area. I kind of used my military style and background and pushed that out into my PTing and product. And then I've managed to find a space within Marden, which is like 5-minute walk from my house. So it's perfect. And then opened up the gym October 2020. And that's where it all kind of started. Back to the branding. I was part of Free Commando Brigade. The way that I kind of see Brigade is like a group of people with the same sort of beliefs, same sort of intentions. So I wanted to call it Brigade. The logo is cross barbells within a circle, so it kind of looks like a scope. So that kind of was a little bit of a tip of the hat to my sniper background. And that's where it came from, really.
I've got a few questions about everything you just went over, but let's switch to Sam. So while your brother's in Afghan, you're on the golf course.
Yeah, mine's a slightly easier, nicer story. So again, I left school at 16. I was sport mad as well, still am sport mad, but sport played a huge part of my life throughout. Well, it still does. But I went to a golf college in Gloucestershire to play golf, basically. So I was taught, got to a pretty high level. We started to compete. And then I got to 18 and didn't quite, I guess I wasn't quite good enough to go to the Div 1 colleges within America. So I decided to turn professional. And what that meant was I could play on the mini tours, as they called it. So if you look at it at football terms, it's kind of like League One within the golf industry, but managed to play a little bit with there, and then started to get involved within golf clubs as well. So I started to coach people, and then almost went down the road of, I did go down the road of being a club professional. So for 10 years, kind of just played golf and managed the golf club shop course.
What was your handicap, or what is it now, and what was it then?
Good question. So I turned professional off +2. As soon as you turn professional, you lose your handicap. So I went back down to 0. I've only recently got my amateur status back, so you have to apply for it, and they take a long time because they don't obviously want you to do that. But I've recently got it back, so new handicap is incoming.
And how often do you both go on the golf course together?
No,
Not enough. I probably go once a year. But like I said, the problem is he's left-handed, so
Yeah.
I'm right. I can't use any of his stuff.
So yeah, I mean, before I came into Brigade, my kind of backstory of fitness was I was very overweight. I was very unfit.
As a golfer or as a teenager? Or?
Pretty much all the way through. I mean, it got worse as I got into teenage years and got into golf. Got pretty lazy, had a pretty unhealthy lifestyle, I guess. And when Tom was doing his boot camps, I always remember going over there, and there's some pictures of me just kind of watching, and very unrecognisable, aren't I? It's quite cool to look back. But then COVID happened again, so golf club shut down. I couldn't travel to play in any tournament, so it was probably the best thing for me that's happened in my life, COVID. And I guess that the outcome of what happened, me and Tom sat down and I said, look, I don't want to do this anime, and that's when I joined the business.
Who did you qualify with?
So I was with Ori Gym. So again, I did it pretty fast over online. I went through level 2 and level 3 pretty quick. After COVID, I did go back to golf for, I think it was 2 months. But I just knew I was very passionate then. I just got into fitness. I was training a little bit of Tom, and I knew the path was not there anymore. And it was with Brigade. So we made the decision pretty fast after COVID to join forces.
Nice. What did Afghan, how many tours did you do? What did it teach you, and what was like the scariest moment?
I did one tour of Afghan. I think I was out there for like 6.5 months. What was the next bit you asked? What did it teach me? I think overall it taught me not to take things for granted, like small things like electricity, running water, fridges, having something cold. I did a summer tour, so it was very hot. So in the operating bases that we were in, we didn't have like running water. There wasn't any electricity. So it's very much like back to basics. So just coming home to like having a nice bed and radiators and a shower. So just taking things for granted, really. Scariest thing, I think I was quite lucky on my tour. Not much happened. So compared to other people's experiences. So in that respect, I was quite lucky. I think the scariest thing for me is it would have been just going out on patrol every day, knowing that you could step on something, or it could be your last one, or it could be your friend's last one. So you always got that in the back of your mind. But yeah, luckily nothing too crazy happened.
A lot of people do move from the military into fitness. So someone is watching this and they're currently serving, but they're weighing up their options of, do I take the jump now? Do I wait until the time elapses that I have to leave? Yeah. What would sort of your message be to them?
I think my message would be is, so when you leave the military, they give you, I don't know if it's changed now, but when I left, they were called like LCAS points. So they give you funding and they give you points to go and do certain civilian qualifications. So if you haven't got your qualifications, go and do that quickly. And then I think it's like try and start building like a product and a brand around like yourself. Use your military experience because people buy into that, especially in the fitness world. Use your military experience, start something, if it's on social media or online or in your local area, if it's a boot camp, just start something and just keep going from there, and something will build.
Between you both, what are sort of the biggest mistakes that you see other gym owners make or in the fitness industry right now?
I think the biggest thing really is going into the gym and fitness world being a bit naive about it, where you kind of build this gym and people will just come. So seeing it more as like a business, thinking about like sales, marketing, your product, the team, staffing, how you're going to do all that. So yeah, I think the biggest mistake is thinking that if I build this gym, people are going to come and train because they like fitness, rather than thinking like, I need to think about this more as a business and how to get people here.
Final question. What do you see in the industry right now that people are making mistakes on, be it as like a fitness professional, PT, a gym owner?
Yeah, so I think the biggest mistake is going into it a bit naive and thinking, I've got this online program, or I'm going to build this gym and people are just going to come and do it because people like fitness, rather than thinking about it as a business and what it can do for you, and thinking about sales, marketing, the team, your product, how you're going to deliver it, the systems and processes you're going to need to have in place. So yeah, I think about looking at it as a business rather than a gym that people are just going to flock to and train is probably the biggest mistake, I'd say.
I think we touched on it a little bit earlier about the team and employment and having them fully bought in and fully employed. I think if people aren't doing that, they need to do that. For us to grow, it's important that we can step outside of the gyms, and if they're running efficiently, we know they're progressing. Without our input, that's super important, but that's only going to happen if they are fully bought in and they believe, or they are your brand. If they are kind of outsourced or self-employed, they're going to have other things going on which they're going to put to the top of their pecking order, rather than the business itself.
It's been awesome to see your journey and what you've done in a very short space of time, and others should pay attention to what you're building. Can you just tell everyone who's either watching this or listening to this how they can find you? What's the website?
So you can find us at brigadefitness.co.uk.
Thank you for coming on the Fitness Marketing Agency podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Fitness Marketing Agency podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe so you can catch future episodes.